Hi everybody, it's Vance. Thanks for watching the video. I kind of promised I'd help some folks try to figure out how to use Breevy, which is a text expander software, in conjunction with the AtlasMD software, particularly the macro functionality. So Breevy is not a replacement for the macro functionality. It has its own macro stuff, but together they work really well. The reason we want to use Breevy is because not only does it do, yes, you can build macros inside of AtlasMD, but they only work inside of the AtlasMD website. If you're anywhere else, it doesn't work. So if you're going to make all these macros, you might as well make them so they can work anytime, anywhere inside of Microsoft Word, or when you're typing something on the web or whatever. So, but they work together. They do some really powerful things, and I'd like to demonstrate that today. And then I'll also show you some basics on how to set some of this up. There will be some more in-depth things that show you how to make it do the really cool stuff. I'll do that in a separate video because this one's going to be long enough as it is. So bear with me. This will be a long video. And also bear with me if this seems to be complicated. This video and maybe some of the ones from the next video, at first they might look a little complicated, but trust me, they're not that hard. And once you get through it and you realize how fast it can speed you up, I think you'll really like this. All right, so let's get started. First, I'm just going to give you some basics with demonstrations of what Breevy does. So I like to think of it kind of as an autocorrector, but you set it with what you want it to autocorrect. So you type one thing and it replaces it with another. So if I'm typing a sentence such as, say the patient is on antibiotics, I can just do this, and it puts it together really fast. And so what I did there is whenever I type capital P, little t, it replaces that with the patient. And when I type ABX and hit spacebar or a period or anything that ends a sentence, or a word, it will replace it with the entire word. So you can already see the power. So words that use a lot, like with, or maybe pain, or maybe shoulder, you can just, with a few keystrokes, you can type the entire thing. Or maybe phrases you use a lot. So maybe tenderness to palpation. You can just quickly replace like you see here, but you can always take this a step further. So like if somebody needs to stop smoking and you tell them that and you want to document that, SC for me is smoking cessation. When I replace it, it puts in my whole advice there. They're pre-contemplative on stopping. Pre-con is how I remember it. I just hit pre-con and it'll put in the entire sentence for me. And maybe I tell them also they need to eat right and exercise. That's healthy lifestyle, HL. And then it replaces that. So you can see how you can pretty quickly build a note. You can also do exam, obviously, with this, like normal basic exam. Pretty straightforward, small little exam, doesn't have a whole lot of stuff in it. But what if I want to make just a little change? Well, I can quickly go over here and say, well, there was some tenderness to palpation in the left lower quadrant. Now, I don't think I have left lower quadrant in yet, so right now it just puts LLQ. But what we're going to do right now is I'm going to show you how to build a shortcut for left lower quadrant right here. So what you'll do is you'll go into your Breevy software, and I'll show you how to get it and all that at the end of the video today. You go into Breevy, and we're going to do new abbreviation. Inside of my abbreviations, new abbreviation, and this is what we're going to type is LLQ, and it's going to replace it with left lower quadrant. And it's going to do that after a word ending character is typed, such as the space bar. And then I'll click apply. Now when I go back over here to my note, and I'm just doing this in a little text, this obviously isn't in the EMR right now. So tenderness to palpation. Remember it used to say non-tender, so I deleted that. I put TTP space, and I'll say NLLQ. When I hit space, it now replaces that with left lower quadrant, just like that. So now I'm going to go ahead and go in, and I'm going to put in right lower quadrant and all the upper quadrants and stuff, and I'll have some more abbreviations ready to go for the future. All right, so now let me show you, again, I'm just doing demonstrations right now. I'll show you how some of this works here in a minute. Let me show you a little bit more powerful thing it can do. It can also tab through fields so it can fill out forms for you. So let me go over here, and I'm going to open up Atlas, and we're going to go to my fake patient here. And we're going to send a fax to the Cardiovascular Services Department at the Holton Community Hospital. When I first found this, I really was like, oh my gosh, I got to fill this out every time. You can't even pick from a list of drop down, to pick an easy, like different between different fax numbers you commonly use. You got to type the number in every time, and you got to type the title of your fax and who it's going to, and then type out your entire order. And I'm like, man, this is going to kill me. But I've got it automated now to where I can send a fax to about anywhere in just a few seconds. So in this case, I'm going to send a fax to HCH or fax HCH Cardiovascular Services, which is CVS. So as soon as I activate this with the space bar, watch it fill everything out for me. And it's going to do something else powerful. Two other powerful things. Here we go. It's going to start filling it out, and it gets to a stopping point. So here's what it did. It typed in the title of the fax, which is HCH Cardiovascular Services order. It then hit tab, which moved to the next field, typed in who it's to. Then it hit tab. It filled out the fax number for that department. Then it hit tab, and brought itself down to the content, which is where it started with another header of the order. But then it invoked hashtag demo inside of the AtlasMD EMR, which brings in the demographic information for the patient whose chart you're in. This is what's awesome. You can't do that with Breevy because all your abbreviations come out the same. But since you can bring in abbreviations that are specific to that patient, since we're in this patient's chart, we do hashtag demo. Now it has the information for this patient, so they know how to call them. Their phone number will pop up in this also. Obviously, my fake patient doesn't have all that in there yet, but if he did, the phone number will be right there. So now CVS knows what number to call to schedule his appointment. All right, so the next thing it did is after the order, you'll see where it put in the desired test and press tab. So maybe I want a nuke med stress test. Now whenever I hit tab, it then takes right off again, and then it finishes out the order, please fax reports, etc. Now, since we're direct primary care, sometimes I might want to put a billing note. So for nuke med stress tests, I can read those myself. Unless their insurance is covered, then what I'll do is I'll put a billing note, which is also a shortcut. And when I put that in there, it says this test will be billed by HCH to Medicare, but they can't bill me to read it if I read it. But if somebody else reads it, then they can bill Medicare, you see. So I just add that in this case because I read nuke med stress tests. But the point I'm making is, again, I was able to just quickly type billing note, and it popped all that in there. So in just literally just a few seconds, I can completely populate, and then all I have to do now is I just click whether or not I want a copy of this fax sent to the patient's email address or not, and then I click send to send it. So really powerful stuff that can do. All right, so we'll get into how to program it to do these things in the next video, but I would like to show you some quick details of how Breevy works. So first of all, downloading it. You're going to go to their website, which is 16software.com/Breevy. It's a free download for a 30-day trial, which is fully functional. If you like it, it's $35, and all you do is punch in a code, and then it unlocks it for past 30 days. It's well worth the money. I'd pay a lot more than this. It's so easy to use. It's very functional, and also their software support is really good. They'll always email you back if you contact them. So anyway, click this, download it, install it. If you have trouble installing it, ask a 7-year-old or call me or something. It's pretty easy, but assuming you've got it running, then all you'll do is go down here to your system tray, and it'll open up. Now, once you open it, what you should do is on the preferences here, you should always make sure that it starts Breevy with Windows because you always want it running. You can always disable it if at any time you don't want it putting in using your shortcuts by just clicking that right there. All right, so let me show you something I do with this. First of all, when you make a new abbreviation, you saw me do that with the LLQ. It's pretty straightforward. A couple things you need to know about that. The first one is the case sensitivity. If you want it to be case insensitive or case sensitive or adapt, and that does have the potential to be important, and I'll show you why. Patient is PT. Capital PT is the patient, and capital P and capital T with a space is nothing besides PT. Capital P, capital T with a control, which is my trigger, is physical therapy. So that does need to be case sensitive in the case of PT. But like for ABX, if it's all lower, I have it on adapt. So it's lowercase if I type it that way. If I do only the A big, it'll capitalize it. And if I do all of them big, then it does it in all caps. So that's what the match case business is all about. and then replace typed abbreviation. This just tells it when to invoke this. So you type LLQ, and you want it to put in left lower quadrant. The question is when. You have three options: immediately, or with a trigger key, or basically after you hit the space bar, period, or comma, or something. Don't ever use immediately. That'll make your life horrible. Don't use it. Most of the time you're going to use after a word ending character is typed, but sometimes you'll use trigger. The time I use trigger is whenever it's something that I might otherwise not want it to put the abbreviation for. So like sometimes if I put PT for the abbreviation for physical therapy, I don't necessarily want to spell it out. So I just, on that one, I have it trigger it. So I have to hit Control, which is my trigger key. You can set that up right here, Options, Preferences. My trigger key is Control, but you can make it whatever you want. So, for that I use Control as an example. All right, so let me show you another thing real quick. This is where you put your abbreviations. So they're all over here. When you install Breevy, one of the things it lets you do is it lets you install the Microsoft Word autocorrect, which is awesome because then it's like you have autocorrect on all the time, even if you're not in Microsoft Word. So it works inside of Atlas. It works inside anywhere you're on the web. It works anywhere. It's pretty neat. I understand that you have to disable your autocorrect inside of Word so that it works there too, but I'm not sure if that's true. One thing you can do is you can make your own autocorrects if there's a word you spell wrong a lot. So the word there, I'll show you as an example. Where's it at? Here it is, there. See how it says THERI or THIER. So you put that little bar symbol in between, and that bar is Shift and backslash, which is the key right above your Enter key. So you can put in every possible misspelling of there, and then any of them that you type, it'll automatically replace with there. That way you don't have to make a different abbreviation for every possible misspelling of the word. Anyway, so yeah, have it put in the Microsoft Word autocorrects, and you'll really like having that in there. Something else I've done is I've made two separate folders for dosing and for my fax abbreviations. And the reason is my nurse uses these also, so I can export them. So here's all my dosing. So QD is take 1 tablet by mouth daily, and so forth. All of my dosing, they trigger with the control. And the reason for that is sometimes I might just want it to say QD. So if I wanted to particularly replace QD with this, I have to hit Control. The reason this is important to make in a separate folder is that my nurse uses these all the time as well when she's filling prescriptions. So what I do is I put them in this dosing folder separately, and the reason is I can now export just this folder to this dosing.bvy file, which I actually store on the cloud, and then my nurse can install it from there. So anytime I add new abbreviations, she can just delete her dosing file and then go on the cloud and then import the dosing thing again, and when she does that, it'll put it back in here, but now it'll have the new ones. So that way we have all of our possible dosing shortcuts really quickly. So when we're filling prescriptions, all I got to do is type FLON Control, and it replaces that with 2 puffs each nostril every morning. Obviously that's for Flonase. So anyway, that's why I have that, and I have the same thing for our faxes. So I have a different fax abbreviation for all the different places we send faxes, and it fills out that form. Now it's kind of complicated in the replacement preview, and I'll go over that in the next video. Okay, so hopefully this gives you some idea of the power this thing has. Obviously it can also log you in and out of things. So if I were to let me find a different one here. So if I can't remember my password, or if it's long and I don't want to type it out, as long as I have a password on my computer and no one can get on my computer, then I can use Breevy to fill out passwords for me. So here I just type PW, I think it is, and Control, and then it automatically logs me in, as you can see, to my email, which is pretty cool. So you can two-stroke log into any software you want or any website you want by having that. Again, though, you'll want to make sure you have a password on your computer so that only you are using it. But talk about fast. Every time software logs you out, you can two-stroke log in again. You don't have to type your password a million times a day. You just type, one letter and Control or something like that. Pretty awesome. So, okay, so that kind of is an overview showing you the power this has. I'll make some more videos that show some even more complicated stuff that it really will automate for you, but this one's been long enough. So